Welcome, dear readers, to Cover My Ass, where baffling books are reviewed but not read by yours truly. My name is Kaki.
And I'm Kay, and remember, we only judge a book by its cover.
And we find ourselves once more amid the towering stacks of your library, towering even more. Because last week, as you know, I was towering stacks upon stacks of the shelves, right?
We were layer 3 deep, I think.
Yes, and then you promised to get me the forklift, and it came in yesterday.
Oh.
And we're going all the way up, baby. So I've taken apart some of the ceiling. Turns out the sort of ceiling panels, they can seal like a lot of extra space out there.
Yeah, it's called a lowered ceiling. It's like we have that
like
in
it's
case.
really, really low.
Oh yeah, there's an entire like ecosystem up there.
So I've noticed, but I've done my very best to ignore all the fascinating like avian wildlife I've encountered up there. I was like, no,
those are new.
I wouldn't know. I just didn't pay any attention to them.
Very good.
I've just taken the staple gun and I've just tried to like staple them to the surfaces and just not dealing with you right now. I don't look. I didn't classify them.
Okay.
I've just been getting rid of them to focus on library stuff by building the library up higher and higher into probably like reverse hell or whatever's up there.
Oh well, okay.
So are you proud of me?
I am.
Okay,
However,
good.
do keep in mind that we want to have accessibility. Issue.
Well, that's why it's only the stacks.
Okay.
Because the stacks are where you store the books that are not in the for general consumption. Those are just the shelves and the aisles. But now I've got this forklift, so I can willy-nilly just lift myself up into the ether to retrieve books that need to be in general circulation.
Okay. What kind of criteria are you using to determine whether or not a book should be in general or in the stack, so to speak?
Well, okay, so the forklift came in yesterday, so I've been super excited about it. So I've reduced the generally accessible area to about half a bookshelf.
I was going to say, there's quite a bit more room around here right now.
Yes. I've moved stuff from the reading areas into the sort of back of house. It's true. I'm restricting the choices that readers have when they come to the library. But I haven't seen many of those.
No. That's normal. That's par for the course.
Yeah, exactly. So it probably doesn't matter to us who spend most of our time in the library, whether it's in the library proper or in the stacks.
As long as the extra space doesn't start giving you ideas and like making, I don't know, putting in a croquet field or something like that.
That seems like it might draw in some readers.
It might also draw in some lawn bugs.
Lawn bugs?
I don't know.
But what if you use, like many American politicians, AstroTurf?
Oh, yes.
Fake grass.
Okay, yeah, that would be nice. I mean, like football clubs use. A lot of football clubs are. What kind of like agenda would you use for astroturfing my library?
Oh no! Now I have to determine the platform. I'll get back to you on that next week.
Okay,
that's going to be my.
That sounds
next
like a fantastic idea.
So I'm just going to continue to enjoy the forklift, and next week is the astroturfing platform. Wow, what a great literary podcast we're doing, Kay.
We are not politics at all.
No, we are. However, reviewers of books. And what do we have in store for our readers this week?
This week's book is by Pierre Tollet, Meurtre en Soucoupe Volante. And from the start, I have to admit, I did not read it in French. I'd read the translation.
See, you always do that.
Yes.
Like, I tried to go for the originals.
I know, but your French is better than mine.
Merci. Omelette du fromage.
Yeah, that's the other one.
For the readers at home, if you look down at your podcasting device, you should be seeing the cover of today's book. And if not, you can check the show notes or the website, covermyasscast.com, for an image and a link. We also have a Twitter presence at covermyasscast. I didn't get it wrong, and I didn't comment on it, and I didn't congratulate myself
until right now.
Yeah. So I think that's progress.
I think we need maybe some AI thing which just has like a little green light there, which is like as long as the green light is on, yes, you're on the script, you're doing it right, and don't mention it. And as soon as the red light comes on, then you can go like, okay, I have to make like apologies for something that I didn't.
How brilliant that would be if you just had if you could wear a pair of glasses and they would just flash you a little red light like no, roll it back. Just at any point of your life. Honey, are you sure? Today's book is Meurtre en Soucoupe Volante. And for those of our readers at home who are not blessed with a knowledge of the Francosphere, that means murder on the flying saucer. And the cover covers the book as well, because you have a flying saucer and you have what looks like sort of a spaceman in a weird costume with sort of almost like an Aztec space helmet, right?
Okay, so I think that you have the space helmet, and like I'm not going to comment on like the state of his face or the mustache that he apparently has, but the fact that he has welding goggles on under his space helmet.
Yes,
and
suspicious.
He's got the helmet has kind of like a bit of a World War I German spike, which I assume is just the antenna.
Yeah, it has sort of a Prussian look to it.
It does a bit. And, of course, he's holding this big, which I assume is a welding thing, or a laser torch, or whatever you want to call it, a welder cutter.
A laser, a spark lance. Ooh,
and
I like that one.
And a weapon, which I hadn't noticed until before. But, again, it certainly makes sense. On Earth, you would use an oxyacetylene torch for it.
Yeah, but not a lot of oxy out in space. Just use lasers.
Well, no, but even on Earth, the oxyacetylene torch has, the normal setting, and then has the extra oxygen setting. And the extra oxygen setting is what makes it such a good cutting tool, because it's basically burning away the metal.
So, because it's providing oxygen from whatever it's heating.
It goes
oxidize.
Yeah, exactly. You'd like the first flame is just like heats it up, and then like when you add the extra oxygen, it just like starts cutting through it by burning away the material. By that,
right? It's not waiting for it to melt. It's just providing oxygen.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oxygen is a fierce molecule, isn't it?
It's like it likes other things way too much, and it wants to bond with everything.
Yes.
And it goes like, "Hi, I love you," and I'm going to
very needy molecule, isn't
rip you off and tear you away and go live on a beach somewhere in Pasadena.
Wow. Well, I mean, I'd take that deal. Unfortunately, such a deal is not available to our hero, who I believe is depicted on here.
Yes, a young hero by the name of Bud Light.
Oh, God, yes.
Who is...
yes, good old Bud.
Yeah, he's like carrying out his job, which is where the story starts.
Yes, because he is one of the abductees. So
I thought that was a cute way of thing of calling them.
Like so it's a human who's been abducted from Earth at one point by a flying saucer, and by intergalactic convention is not allowed to return lest he corrupt humanity's development by introducing them to the reality
existence
of aliens.
Yes, and he's working on the space station Prince Albert.
Ooh, yes,
I think it's named for its like distinctive ring-shaped.
Frames. Yeah, that's a very intimate location, isn't it?
It's like the starships in the Trade Federation in Star Wars. You know, they also have that like ring shape with this big bulging...
With a big bell in the middle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's like, you know, the space station Prince Albert. That seems like the... Yeah.
So I think that's literally where the inspiration for this space station came from, because we're operating in a realm of space where modern Earth is ignorant of the spacefaring civilizations, but that all of the spacefaring civilizations have unified around the practice of splagiarism.
Yeah.
Now, this is a particular thing because after around like 1973, I think it was the booming message, humanity started to broadcast messages that were powerful enough to be detected in space.
Yes.
And then retroactively, weaker signals could also be detected because now that they knew where to look for, they could move, with light speed, move farther away, and then try and see if we can detect fainter signals, like the 1934 Olympics, which I think it came up in Contact. The book and the film by Carl Sagan.
Yeah.
That one of the first signals that was probably powerful enough to make it out of the ionosphere into space would have been Hitler giving the opening address to the... Yeah, not it.
But, that's clearly not where Mr. Tollet was going in this book.
No, he posits a universe where, so various spacefaring civilizations have been dropping in on Earth every now and again, just kidnapping people to see what they're like. But then once Earth started broadcasting some of its televised reality and history, they were exposed to brand new ideas that they'd never examined before, such basics to us as like capitalism and socialism, feudalism, all these like diverse political practices that they had never considered out in space.
You could say that Earth was considered as to have a bit of a bad influence on the rest of the universe.
Oh, yes.
And therefore put under embargo. And they're not supposed to be told about the rest of the universe, because they might if they could do this much damage when they're just putting out their own nonsense, who knows how much damage they could do if they actually start actively participating in space politics.
Which also results in why these humans who've been abducted from Earth and who are incredibly valuable resources for the ideas that their heads possessed are kept sort of segregated. Like we've talked about the abductees. So when they're particularly young people, they're just dropped on some backwater planet and hope that they'll just disappear. You also have the abduct elders, who are similarly tried to. They're used more like what's it called, brain trusts or like think tanks. Often the secret. They're the different galactic empires vie for possession of these humans, whom they use as prophets and sages to dictate their
basically have them look at
policy,
whatever's going on, and then make the to them obvious comments, which for some reason, like the aliens might have completely missed simply because they have a different way of thinking.
Yes, exactly.
It's like what they have, which every science fiction story should have, is like should have a 5-year-old on staff with like asking stupid questions, and like if the director or the screenwriter can't like answer them like and easily explain it to a 5-year-old, then like, okay, we need to reevaluate this decision in the...
That would be brilliant.
It would, wouldn't it? It's like you'd miss so many...
Hence the rampant plagiarism where spacefaring civilizations are committing plagiarism on Earth, where some of them have even reformed their empires to resemble, for example, I mean... the United Space, like they did great, and everybody is immensely jealous of the United. Oh, I wish I'd done that one first.
I mean, it is a good idea. It's like you get everyone working together in a democratic, quote unquote,
for
institution.
The billionaires. Like they were introduced to wealth concentration, and gosh, they sure did love that.
I mean, if you're already on top, then that's a fantastic concept.
Now, it was not so easy for France, which. Yes, so Space France, notice France, which has a much more complicated political history,
which was clearly very close to Mr. Tollet's heart. I think this was a very strong criticism, maybe on the policies of de Gaulle.
Yeah, which were not so accessible even to me. I speak a bit of French,
I have
but
no idea.
I don't know. There's so many like cartoons from the 70s and 80s, or a children's program in our neck of the woods, the Fabeltjeskrant, the Fable newspaper, which was a biting political satire that adults could watch with their children, and for their children they just saw cool puppets in an animal kingdom.
That is true. My father actually met de Gaulle once.
Oh wow!
Yeah, he went on some sort of student exchange program with the university that he was at the time, and into France, and like the Gaulle showed up at some point. So he briefly met the man.
Wow! What was his nickname, by the way? He had a nickname.
The giant or something. Like he was huge.
Le Général?
I don't know.
Wasn't he the general?
But it's also interesting that every field hospital or every military hospital everywhere in France used to have a bed reserved for de Gaulle.
Whoa!
In case it was needed for him to be like treated there or anything, so and it would be an extra large bed as well, because he was a very tall man and he did not fit in any of the standard field cots. That's the word. Yeah, at the time. So there was always one like reserved for de Gaulle whenever he needed to be.
See, it's all right for some, and this is the kind of inequality that is such a novelty to the spacefaring civilizations, which is why they're just all addicted to Earth. We also have Portugal.
Yes.
Who are super into football, like they're
funny like that,
and Portugal's, pardon,
pétanque and highlight.
Oh, are they Portuguese?
No, Basque is highlight is Basque, not Portuguese.
Oh, it's okay. No, that's the other side of. Is it? Well, how did it wind up in South America then?
I don't know. It's like I guess a lot of people from that area moved there, but Florida and South America.
Okay.
But that's
cool.
a big thing there. It's like originally a Basque game.
Well, okay, it's a bouncing off the wall and it's a ball game. There's also a ball game that uses a basket, not basketball, but we know it as korfball. Yeah. That originally comes from Sweden, which is very popular in Sweden. Yeah, now they're a little bit disappointed in what they got stuck with, as was, for example, the space version of, because different empires, they just like. They had to pick from our country that they would emulate. Yeah. So, like, Swaziland thought they were also, like, really fucked until Swaziland renamed itself to Eswatini. And now you've got Space Swatini, which is almost cooler than United Space. So they're
Space Swatini.
Swatini. But let's talk about the adventures of Bud Light.
It starts with him describing his routine in the space station, where he's basically cutting up old, discarded flying saucers.
Yeah, because he's one of those sort of teen urchins in an industrial hellhole.
Exactly. He gets thrown in there. There's a brief synopsis of like the first half of his day, how he spends like time cutting up saucers in his spacesuit, which is the scene that's depicted on the front of the book.
I thought it was very interesting how the writer managed to convey the idea of a musical soundtrack. Where it goes, here I'm going to try it. C'est mon temps de volante. It's my time to fly from the 90s. I know it from the soundtrack of Titan AE. Yes. I was reminded very much of Titan AE.
I'm pretty much I think it's a wonderful movie.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I really like the moment where Matt Damon's character is in a hand towel and it falls off. Like that's just...
It is. He does have some very lovely cheeks.
He does. And wouldn't it be nice to make him blush?
So it starts after a quick chapter in describing the grind of his daily life, where he's basically been dumped at the Prince Albert space station.
Yeah, and his job is like cutting up other people's rigs.
And so there's a flashback back to his days on Earth, where he's where I think it's about a year earlier at that point, where he is attending Butt High, the home of the pirates.
I believe they insist on being called the Butte Pirates.
Yeah, well, and he is about to go out to prom with his girlfriend, Vanity Plate, who is the daughter of the local second-hand car dealer.
Wow. What a name to be saddled with.
Yeah, it's like getting in his car, which he actually bought from his girlfriend's father.
Clunker, yeah.
And taking them to prom, and like on the way to prom, they literally have the flying saucer appear over the road. There's like this bright light shining.
Greys.
Yes.
The grey aliens with the big heads. And now we as readers, we realise that these are just regular aliens who are really, really weird, but all the aliens know, as part of their program of plagiarism, they have to appear as bipeds, just with weird, exacerbated physical features.
Because this is how we are expected to look, so this is how we must look.
Yeah, so you've got this gas bag tentacle species that zips themselves up into biped grey suits with the big heads and eyes.
I noticed that in the story that the aliens seem to have this almost compulsive need to appear as they are expected to.
Yes, yeah. So that is certainly a problem that the Venusians are also afflicted with. So they quickly select Vanity Plates. She's got the boobs. She's one of ours because we are the Amazons.
Ah, yes, and this is and now we're coming back to the reason why Bud is stranded on the Prince Albert. After they get abducted by the aliens and they are examined, and Bud is like being the hero of the story. Things like, oh, this is like we're being abducted and this must be interesting. Turns out they're not interested in him. They want Vanity.
Yeah.
Go like, what do you mean? Like, there's two of them. It's like we wanted her,
and he's just bycatch, or what's it called?
Exactly.
Extra catch.
Exactly. The fish that you end up with in the net that you don't want.
They're trawling for tuna, and then they get some fucking dolphins.
And they basically dump him at the first station they are, and they disappear off with his girlfriend. And
that's
she's
like horribly disheartening for a young person to be
that's
told.
That's how we end up in the position at the beginning of the book.
Yeah. He's very sad and trying to make the most of his life, but also like trying to put Earth behind him, realizing that he lives in an unfair universe.
It has been explained to him that you are not going anywhere. This is your life now. Make up, earn your keep, or don't breathe oxygen.
I mean, this story seems like it's going nowhere, and it's going to be about his life and demise on this alien space station until.
He gets dumped on the space station and sorted out, and he just wanders around and trying to find basically he needs money, so he goes looking, can I get a job? And he ends up with a guy called Bob Cleaverage Fabricator.
Yes, I love these names.
Who runs who basically runs the wrecking crew?
And he's one of a species that we remember of the hunky catmen.
Oh,
we remember them from other books that we've read, such as Daenerys something. Very early on. That's the first time that we saw Rura.
Lots of hunky catmen.
And RX Recipe for Chaos.
Ah, that's the one.
So I thought it was kind of cool to say the sort of centaur-like. Maybe 4 feet tall or maybe towering catmen.
And I don't understand how they can operate on a space station, especially not in a deconstruction company like this, because your spacesuit is intensely complicated.
Yeah. But this has been the norm for the galactic civilizations until humans came into fashion. Everybody wanted to pretend to be a biped. Apparently, Bob Cleavage Fabricator just hasn't had the back of the bodyectomy that most of his
that sounds horrible. And so there's working for the deconstruction company, whose motto is "Call us or screw it up yourself."
Yeah. Now I like a company that's sort of that honest about what they're offering.
It is true. I mean, it's like the guy who's the wash machine repair company, and he goes price is €20 per hour. It's like if you're watching, it's €30 per hour. So if you're helping, it's €50 an hour.
Wow. I do believe this is certainly part of the capitalist coalition of civilization. So we discover gradually that while there are many diverse civilizations out in space, they've sort of coalesced into two large encampments. One of them like embracing the capitalists' learnings that they've extracted from Earth's broadcast, who are very interested in keeping Earth a pristine generator of this kind of ideas that they can use, known as the Empire. Whereas a coalition known as the Federation are much more about, like, they actually want to include Earth, because if we're learning this much from them, from their broadcast...
How much can we learn when they're actually aware of us and they can teach us, rather than we just have to, like, pick at whatever they deem to send out into space?
So we have, like, obviously the United Space is under the Empire, and France has placed itself under the Federation, as has Space Watini.
After we have a little bit of his backstory explained, Bud comes back into the space station at the end of his shift.
Yeah.
And he comes across the murdered body of Roger Boyes.
No, that was like his bestie. That was like his mentor.
Who was telling
Erastes, who took him under his wing,
telling him how to, like, survive. He's another one of the abductees but like 15 years ago, so not really exactly.
He's very buoyant. That may be it.
Yeah,
he's not a gas bag.
Not anymore after he'd been violently stabbed by one of the space cutters.
At which point, I mean, who's holding a space cutter? Bud Light. We see him on the cover.
And he comes walking in, and of course, just at that point, someone walks in to catch him red-handed, so to speak. I mean, the reader knows he's innocent, but everybody else thinks that, like, oh, he must have killed him.
So he's immediately seized by the local authorities, and then we go into a sequence, and I'm going to summarize it for the readers. So there is a whole set of, like, kidnappings back and forth between the forces of United Space and Portugal and France and Sweden and Space Watini, which is just the best.
Space Watini is
like your country was named Swaziland by Europeans, and then you become king. And I don't honestly know if the king of Swaziland was a particularly good person, but whatever. And then he decides, I'm going to rename it. Like, this is going to be a post-colonial era, and we're going to, and it's like lowercase e, capital S, because the e is a prefix. Yeah. Like in Botswana. Do you know what a person from Botswana is called?
I would think a Botswanan, but
Motswana. Because Tswana is the root word.
And like Botswana is the country of...
the country where Tswana is spoken, and Motswana is the person who speaks Tswana.
Very good.
It's beautiful.
Yeah,
right?
It is.
So I think that something similar is with Eswatini, that they're the Swati or the Swatini people, and this is the...
Is there Chad?
Chad? Oh, no, that's a good one. Like, what's a person from Chad called?
A person from Chad.
That's right. You've got like a group of like an Egyptian, an Assyrian, and someone from Chad.
There is no common...
No. So he's kidnapped back and forth between the forces of United Space, because
the Empire and the Federation.
Because all of this is part of a larger scheme. Like, he was falsely accused of this murder in order to be able to create, well, another thing that they learned from Earth, a kangaroo court.
Yes.
They took a little bit too literally. Like, they're all all skippy.
They actually brought some kangaroos in, like alien-looking kangaroos.
Skippy the bush kangaroo.
Yes, with the court being presided by Will Bolchin Johnson.
Which I thought was a bit of an unfair reference to the particular genital configurations of male kangaroos.
That's right.
Because this is such a weird thing. They're mammals, so they've got the genitals in the outside, they've got the pee-pee, and they've got the beaners, but they've got the beaners above the pee-pee.
I mean, they're weird anyway.
So Will Bolchin Johnson is the presiding judge of this kangaroo court, where and you have a few attorneys badgering the witness on behalf of the Empire and the Federation,
which they got some badges for. It's like
they didn't know any better.
Mr. Tollet is hitting all the cliches on this one.
But the goal, actually, for both of these teams seems to be extradition, not so much of Bud Light himself, but of whoever his family was, in order to get character witnesses. Both parties are trying to use this fake trial in order to get
what
Earth
they want
extradited into the galactic space in some form or another.
Right. The Empire wants to bring it in under their control, where they can, like, keep a tight grip on everything and, like, reap the benefits and not have to deal with the humans coming out into space, whereas the Federation wants to make them a full member and get the... and
see what we can do with this other thing that we've learned, besides capitalism and socialism, diversity that they themselves really exemplify because they are such diverse species and that they could teach humans about it. So this kangaroo court is all devoted to trying to manipulate Earth into becoming involved, and like it escalates to some of the galactic leaders who've modeled themselves after great Earth leaders. So it escalates to the point where the intergalactic leader Oprah is introduced, and her counterpart Cleopatra. Then battled by the lawyers Hermione and Leia. Like, they're very evenly matched. Yeah. And finally, one more officer of the court is asked, which Bud Light recognizes. And it's Vanity Plates, now known as Rey Skywalker.
Turns out that she was kidnapped because she is a half alien.
Yes,
who was placed on Earth. She did not know this, and like that's why they were coming for her. And it kind of loops back to that, and like it's a sudden surprise of seeing her, and she's obviously delighted to see him being still alive and not being
they were
dropped out.
Earthside sweethearts.
Yeah, they were, and she's like still fond of him, and she was brought in as a ray of light in his darkest hour.
A ray, exactly. Yeah, a Rey Skywalker light. Yeah. And so she's able to like cut through all this bullshit and establish that her very existence means that Earth is already integrated into the galactic sphere, and if anyone is going to call a witness, it's going to be her, and she calls the entire Earth as a witness.
Nails it on a technicality and
has so many
accompli, as Mr. Tollet would call it himself.
Oh, very good, very good.
My other French word that I know.
Oh, yeah. How many others do you know?
1, 2, 3, maybe.
Croissant? Although I prefer the Finnish pronunciation.
Croissant?
Croissant. Because in Finnish you say every letter, which is the opposite of French.
Well, yes, where you like try to like eliminate as many letters as possible.
Actually, we had a little argument about that when I was trying to examine like Soucoupe, Volante. Like, how does that emerge? Maybe that's from Soucoupe, like a
bowl, soup bowl.
Yeah, but then the P is missing. And then someone went, yes, but they don't pronounce the P. But it is the French style to include letters that you don't pronounce. Why would you get rid of a letter that you don't pronounce just because you don't pronounce it? That's nonsense.
Yeah, that makes no sense.
And so Earth is finally introduced. The entire planet is summoned to court because even the Empire and the United States and Portugal, they have to admit that this is now necessary.
Yeah,
and unfortunately,
it's like caught out on the technicality, and now we have to like.
Which is really kind of something they love. So.
Best way. Like, technically correct is the best kind of correct.
So rather than Bud Light being returned to Earth, Earth is returned to Bud Light.
And he can...
and he heads off with...
he's got a good head start in
the
company, and there's going to be a lot more sources that need cutting up. And
and now that the kangaroo courts are in place, lots of people can try to secure damages for their ancestors being anal probed by the Greys.
If they can prove that it actually happened.
There was an episode of Babylon 5 that was fucking brilliant. It started off with a court case between a dude, like a blue-collar dude, who is sitting in the witness stand, and he's talking about, my great-grandfather was kidnapped by that asshole, and I demand reparations. And in behind the witness stand is a grey alien with those big eyes.
Nice.
It wasn't me.
Maybe some of the other guys who just look just
so
like
I'm sure we have a lot of that to look forward to.
Yeah, but kangaroos are going to keep busy.
Well, okay, how are we going to rate this book?
Let's see. I mean, I think we should go with something regarding to flying saucers.
360.
360. Oh, okay, that's good.
That gives us a lot of...
It gives us a lot of leeway. So it's more than 3/4 there, so... I would give it a good, solid 300 out of 360.
Nice. And speaking at reviews, if you look down at your podcasting device, you should be seeing an opportunity to maybe leave a little star or maybe leave a little review, or you can email us at covermyasscast@gmail.com to let us know if you know a book that you might like us to review but not read on the show. We'd also love to hear from you on covermyasscast on Twitter. I was very close this time.
You were.
So what do we have in store for our readers next time?
Next week's book is by Rhonda Lee. It's a thrilling and exciting adventure, The Return of the Horny Dead.
That covers it. Thank you for joining us at Cover My Ass, where baffling books are reviewed but not read by yours truly. My name is Kaki.
And I'm Kay, and remember, we only judge a book by its cover.
I kind of want to be abducted by a Soucoupe Volante.
Not by The Return of the Horny Dead.
Well, I think they've had their time, but I think there's a lot of horny aliens.
Oh, I mean,
certainly that Catman
and the kangaroos.
With or without that.
I mean, it depends on if they're weird junk or not. I mean, like that.
Hey, there's no such thing as weird junk.